I'm an absolute nut for Soulsborne games. I love them so much. It is my favorite genre, and despite it being punishingly difficult, it's also insanely rewarding when you take down a boss that has been plaguing you for a very long time. What makes those kind of games so fun is that the world is such a canvas for the story, and you get some amazing visuals and you get some amazing scenes that tell a story without ever having you read an item description or ever having you just be narrated to. Lies of P seems to pick up on that philosophy, and I'm super, super excited for it. So I didn't realize actually that the P in Lies of P is Pinocchio. So if you guys knew that, +1 to you, -1 to me, because I was not aware of that. But we did get to see another game trailer of this at the Summer Games Fest, and they also announced that a playable demo was live. So what you're looking at here is some of the footage of me playing on my PlayStation 5, checking out the first couple stages of the demo. There's only 2 available. I didn't actually make it completely through the second one because I felt like I had already made my opinion formed of the game, and I got to go check out the big hub at the hotel and see what kind of upgrade systems were available and some of the crafting that was available. And when you combine that with all the fun I had in the first level, I knew this was a game for me. So according to the PlayStation blog, this game is based on everyone's favorite liar, Pinocchio. And it takes place in the dark version of a Belle Epoque world. So Belle Epoque was a time in French history. It's kind of considered one of their Renaissance. And this game has a very carnival-esque fare to it. You'll see a lot, especially in the opening level. You're fighting against other puppets who are, kind of almost think like along the terms of like weaponized nutcrackers, honestly. The way they move is very mechanical and very robotic. You play as Pinocchio, but seemingly very lifelike. You have a robotic arm that you can modify to do various things. You start off by default with it just being a very hard punch, but you can attach things to it. The first thing you get is a pull string, which allows you to pull enemies close to you to do some quick damage. Your hilt and your sword can be upgraded independently, like the blade, if it's like a big heavy blade, or a smaller, more like curved blade. There's probably other weapon combinations that we haven't seen. You can upgrade either of those with this ability that charges up over time that allows you to do different types of attacks. There's a traditional sense of upgrades where you go to, well, they don't call them shrines, but if you're familiar with Dark Souls, you will be very familiar with this. They call those things stargazers, but instead of the bonfire, it's a stargazer. It's a place where you go and it replenishes all of your potions and all of your health, but it also brings the enemies back with you, of course. So you have to kind of fight your way through that. So there's that risk reward if you want to stop or continue on. You also have Ergo, which is the same thing as Souls. They die. When you die, you drop them, but you can go pick them back up. And then there's a lot of like quality of life stuff. So if you're familiar with Dark Souls games, where like your weapon durability potentially can break over time, you can actually repair your durability for free at any time. It's just another mechanic that you have to be aware of. But and you do that by sharpening it on your robotic elbow, which is awesome. So like sparks are flying out. But you can also buy items that imbue the way you charge up your sword, so your sword can have lightning attacks, and I am sure there are other attacks in the game. Additionally, some other quality of life stuff. If you die fighting a boss, the souls that you recover, again, Ergo, but the same thing, are actually outside the boss door. So if you like realize you're not ready yet, you can take your money and run, essentially. You don't have to be stuck in that loop of like, oh, I have to run in this layer to pick up my souls, and now I have to fight the boss again, and I'm not ready for that. Yes, you can save and quit, but it's nice that this is, again, just a quality of life thing that allows you to kind of bypass that. There's a parrying system, a dodge roll system. A lot of enemies are in really tricky places. It has a very detailed labyrinth-esque map that you loop around, and then you open some sort of door or gate or something that kind of brings you back to where you started. There's a teleport system that allows you to teleport from any of the previous stargazers that you found, so you can fast travel between different parts of the world that you've explored. It seems central to this hub area where there's a hotel where you're going to receive all of your upgrades and meet a lot of the NPCs, and a lot of the main, at least the verbal story is told there. But I'm very, very excited for this game, and I played it and it felt great. At first I thought it was a little clunky. I thought the animations were a little stiff, but as I started to play it, I kind of got familiar with the pacing of the game, and it felt much more natural to me by the time I was done playing. It looks gorgeous. It does offer a quality and a performance mode. I didn't do any kind of frame rate testing or anything, but I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess that the quality mode is probably like 4K at 30 FPS. But you'd be silly not to play a Souls game at 60 frames a second. However, the game does offer a high frame rate mode, which was disabled in the demo, which I hope is 120 frames per second. I'm guessing it's higher than 60 because by default 60 is just your performance mode. So very, very excited for that as well, to be able to play that at a much higher frame rate. Dodge rolling and combat will feel even smoother. And since the games typically take place in tighter arenas and corridors, I don't think the pop-in will be as egregious as some of the other games. So I think having a higher frame rate at the sake of draw distance or clarity is probably not such a bad thing. As with the kind of genre, and a lot of plagiarism here, but done very, very well in a very unique style. There's a lot of areas that have absolutely no background music, so you're just listening to the ambient sounds of enemies and machinery and, wood creaking or gates creaking or whatever, like in the background. Of course, the music does flare up. The boss fights are larger than life themselves. They're difficult. They have multiple phases to them. You get so many of your healing flasks, which essentially allow you to kind of recharge your health. The nice thing is, unlike Dark Souls games, when you're out of flasks, that's not the end of your healing, because this game allows you to, on your last flask, when you're empty, you have none left, every attack that you perform will slowly start to fill up the flask. And if you get enough attacks in a row, you can replenish that flask and drink it, and then start the process over again. So if you're in a difficult boss fight and you've used all of your flasks and you have just like a little bit more to go, playing a little aggressively and getting in some additional sword attacks might be the difference to get you through the boss. That's actually how I beat the boss when I first started playing, and I was really, really happy by that. So some nice quality of life improvements here. Obviously, borrowing heavy on the master. It remains to be seen if the story is as inspiring as the Dark Souls stories were, and if you meet creepy NPCs and kind of loosely guided dialogue that kind of forces you to think. But the little bit that I saw with the beginning of Pinocchio lying his way to get into the hotel on his search for Geppetto definitely inspired me to want to keep playing. So unfortunately, we got to wait a little bit longer. The game doesn't come out until September. It's a day one purchase for me. Absolutely. I cannot wait to sink some time into this. And hopefully by then I have beaten some of the backlog games that I am still working through. I know that Tears of the Kingdom and Diablo 4 definitely are not helping my backlog right now. But we got some time to sort that out. But absolutely day one purchase for me. I'll be picking it up on PlayStation 5, and I cannot wait to explore more of this world and to see what the story is about, because I think this is just such a cool idea. I love the gameplay. I love the genre and the idea behind it, and I think they did something really, really magical here. So that is my thoughts on Lies of P. I hope you guys found this video interesting. If you played the demo, sound off in the comments below. Let me know what you thought about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care of yourselves, and until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.